ndinoda kuti nyika iziwe vanhu vangu inguva yedu hatingatadzi kubudirira mwari ari parutivi pedu rambai muchirwa. My hitters gon' die, don't die, and real hitters gon' shine, and my people gon' rise, 'cause we're born to win, yeah. I ain't saying this, but I'm saying
loyalty's my favorite characteristic of God, but finding it in it is hard. It's like trying to find God. You're the only one in your camp with cheese. You pay for everything they eat. Man, that insecurity is deep. Now I ain't said no names. These are just theories. If you hear me, baby, it's home. You must admit it's kinda eerie, baby. Like them chemtrails in the sky. Ain't the selling the slaves, kinda like the combines. We say everything in moderation, but don't do it in moderation. The lies of a gluttonous generation. 10-year-old girl in.
Grand Rising, everybody. Welcome to the Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday, and we got a great show for you today because I get to do a deep dive with our resident life coach, Curtis Calhoun, who's in the building with me today. We're going to be going over Realifer tip number 6. He has, of course, some points that go under that, so I can't wait to dive into it with him today, as these tips can help us all, y'all. The thing is, we just have to apply it. So once you learn, you need to do something with that knowledge. But of course, it's the top of the show. So I want to just say right now is the perfect time for you to tag and share this stream. Please tag and share the stream with folks you feel could benefit from a daily dose of dopeness right here on the Day with Trae. And if you can't watch us, you can also listen to us anywhere you find your favorite podcast. Just search Converge Media Network and the Day with Trae. Y'all will find me there. Google, Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, you name it, any of your favorites, or maybe you're trying out a new one. I'm sure we're there too. We're on over 200 different podcast platforms. So I think we got you guys covered in that space over there. Shout out to all the listeners on the podcast platform. It's going worldwide, y'all. I want to thank you guys for tuning in and finding some real insight here on the Day with Trae. Of course, the goal here is to always showcase what's going on in the community so you guys can be aware, engaged, and informed, but also beyond our community here in the Pacific Northwest. We're reaching all over, y'all. So if you guys got folks that you're like, hey, I know of this amazing person who should be interviewed by Trae, man, hit me up. This is an interactive space here, and I don't know everyone. Of course I can't. So I need you guys out there. If you guys know of amazing things going on, events, or people that are starting businesses or have amazing businesses, you know, anybody doing amazing art, anybody that's doing work out here, please hit me up, Trae at whereweconverge.com. That's TRAE at whereweconverge.com. Go ahead and email me. I want this to be a space where you get to see some familiar faces as well and be inspired by their stories that they'll share here in my living room set and on my couch. So, hit me up, Trae at whereweconverge.com. But also today, you guys, is the last day for the Commercial Tenant Improvement Fund. You guys have been hearing us talk about this amazing fund for business owners out there that are looking to, occupy commercial space. Maybe they're already in commercial space and they need to retrofit it or change it up. Due to COVID, some businesses have had to shift a bit. This fund right here is up to $100,000. It closes today, you guys, at 5 p.m., but it's all grant funding and they've made the application easy. Make sure you guys check out that website, get your applications in today by 5 p.m., and share this if you guys know of others who may be able to benefit from this amazing fund. Again, I want to say this on this last day of this fund, that we've been talking about the work of Office of Economic Development and how important it is that they understand the needs of businesses in order to supply those needs. When something is in demand, there needs to be a supply, right? And so one of the things that we were experiencing in community was, as we were pushing on the other side for, hey, we need more affordable commercial space, it was great that some developers said, all right, we hear the call, we're going to step up to the plate and provide affordable commercial space. The issue was then that the the funding that was necessary to occupy that space fell on the business owner. And we've seen that some of these spaces are, 300,000 plus in terms of a build out. If you need that space to be really specific to the needs of your business. So this fund right here, $100,000 can go a long way towards filling that void that our business owners have been experiencing. And as we're seeing a real increase, particularly across this country, but also locally, of Black women starting businesses, this is something that is a great opportunity for them to say, you know what, I'm going to take what I'm doing out of my home, what I'm doing out of maybe a shared kind of commercial space, or maybe I got a warehouse where I kind of make my products. I get to now take this into commercial space. This is the fund for you. Make sure you guys are checking this opportunity out. I know plenty of amazing vendors who started businesses during the pandemic, as many people felt that they needed to shift in terms of how they were going to make their money. This is the time for you guys to apply for something that will really go a long way to make sure you have a brick and mortar space that is retrofitted to your needs. So I just wanted to share that because I'm experiencing that as a community member, being out here and shopping with different vendors. This is a great time for you guys to maybe take your vending, take your business to the next level. Well, of course, we're going to continue in our next level talk with our resident life coach. Curtis R. Calhoun is in the building, you guys. He's going to be sharing with us another real lifer tip number 6. You guys know y'all don't want to miss this. Stay tuned after this short break. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Baseball is a beautiful game, especially when played in community. Earlier this summer, Baseball Beyond Borders took a powerful, eye-opening journey through the heart of the South, which included baseball, civil rights, and reconciliation. Our young kings hosted a baseball clinic at Jackson State University in Jackson, Mississippi, and hit the road to Montgomery, Alabama by way of the historic Edmund Pettus Bridge to visit the Equal Justice Initiative Museum and Memorial, all in an effort to ground our kings in their history and find serenity in the sport they love to preserve the cultural legacy. Join Baseball Beyond Borders on September 27th for the premiere of our film, Reconciliation Tour, at T-Mobile Park's Ellis Pavilion from 3 to 5 p.m. Hear from those on the front line as well as special guests as we elevate our promise to bring healing through play. For tickets or to donate, visit baseballbeyond.org or check our social media platforms.
Welcome back, everybody, to The Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. And of course, y'all saw that it is Thursday, which means Throwback is going down. Make sure you guys check that out tonight right here on Converge. But I got to give my guy, Curtis R. Calhoun, some time today. We're going to do a deeper dive right here. What's up, Curtis? How are you?
Peace, Trae. It's good to be back in the Black Media Matters studios.
Yeah, you know what? It's always great to have you. And you've been taking us through some amazing tips that we can all really use in our lives. And we're at the halfway point, right, Curtis?
Halfway there.
Out of 12 tips, we're at tip number 6. I'm going to throw it over to you so we can really discuss these tips in depth today.
Okay. So let's go back to a quick recap, right? So first one is a real lifer always gives 110%. The second one is a real lifer is 110% responsible for everything they think, feel, say, and do in regards to their life. Number 3 is a real lifer makes their word bond and keep it impeccable. Number 4 is a real lifer pursues personal growth and development daily. And then a real lifer, number 5, a real lifer sets an intention for the day every day. So those are the first 5 that we've covered so far.
Yeah. You know, and before we get into number 6, I got to say, they all have such a special, unique characteristic about them, right? Every tip that we've gone over thus far really is showcasing a specific element that we get to apply to our lives. But so much of it is about us being accountable to ourselves when we say we're going to do something. And I see that there's a real thorough line here throughout all the tips of accountability, right?
Yes. And that was intentional because the whole goal, there's always has to be something that's a North Star, something we're reaching for. So the goal in the Real Lifer was to always be your best self, and the thing you want to be best at is getting better, right? So we always want to be working towards, striving towards, progressing towards being the best person that we can be. And all of these have that in common, and they build off of one another.
That's exactly right. And, with each one having its own kind of nuance, it gives us something else to kind of set a foundation for ourselves.
Yes.
So it leads right up here to number 6. What's up with Real Lifer tip number 6?
Number 6, Real Lifer tip number 6 is a Real Lifer is growth mindset oriented. So what that is, it comes from a book called Mindset. It's written by a Stanford professor by the name of Carol Dweck. And in a nutshell, basically what it is you have growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset is kind of static. So people that believe that, what I am is what I am. I can't really improve. Whatever tools I've been given at birth is what I got. And that's what I'm working with through life. Where the growth mindset is optimistic. It's always growing. It's kind of what we just talked about, knowing that I can be my better self, working towards that, and always having that as a mindset.
I'll be honest, like, I feel like I didn't know there was another way, because ultimately we are here to grow, right? But I do know people, and I've worked with some of these folks, right, that are like, I always tell my son, my 16-year-old, I'm like, look, you enter the workforce, but trust me, the same characteristics you're seeing right now at 16, you're going to see when you're 33. Exactly. You're going to see when you're 50. Exactly. It's like, there's certain people that are just, that's what they have in their minds, and unfortunately it really is leads to stagnation, like you said. But it's all about the outlook, and which can be changed. That's the thing, is that our outlook can change. But I really appreciate this tip right here, because so much of this is about how you see yourself once again.
Well, it's always about that, because we're our own worst critic, right? So that kind of, with the 6 areas of success, is self-doubt, negative thoughts, limiting beliefs, hindering areas, and actually those are the 6 culprits of accomplishment. So we're always negative on ourselves, always kind of beating ourselves up in our own worst critic. But we have to give ourselves some grace. We have to understand that where we are today is not where we have to be tomorrow. And like we're talking about today, growth mindset, optimistic, looking towards the future, knowing that we can be better if we're willing to do the work.
Yeah, this also, I think, has something to say about how you apply it in different facets of your life, whether it's on the job, in your family, how your children get to perceive you. So much of this permeates all of the areas of our life. So I love this already. Okay, I'm going to identify myself as a growth mindset person. There you go. And so when we dive deeper into this, I know we got a few points here. What is 6.1?
6.1 is always be open to new information. Sometimes we get stuck, right? And we get rigid in our way of thinking. And all of these today, all 3 points really have this as the foundation, is being rigid and stuck, and not to do that because it doesn't benefit us. So we always want to be open to new information. You talked about, like, being in the workforce, or, we are in a lot of meetings. So have you ever been in a meeting where somebody's just unwilling to see another person's point of view, or unwilling to see it from another angle? They just stay stuck in theirs, and they just dig in and trench themselves.
Absolutely, I have. I think this is really the catalyst to a lot of things that end up failing, unfortunately. Because when you're talking about, being open to new information, that means you have to be ready for collaboration. And one of the things that I think that is the kind of antithesis to this is competition. See, right? It's like, if I'm trying to make my point clear, and I want to make sure everybody follows my thought, my train of thought, then I can't be open to what you're saying, because I got to dig deeper into what I'm saying so that everybody in this space can understand where I'm coming from, versus being like, it's okay that you don't understand where I'm coming from. Let's find ways to merge in the middle. Let me be open to what you're sharing so that maybe I can learn something new. I see this happen plenty of times.
Well, what you just said is the model for disaster, right? When we dig in and entrench ourselves ourselves and we try to force our ideas on other people, they start to become closed off. But it's surprising that if we open up to what they have to say, then they'll open up to what we have to say and receive it better.
Yeah, this is again, this is, I think about family.
Okay, it applies everywhere.
You know, right? Like you're at the dinner
Yeah.
table and it's like, okay, you know, everybody brings their own set of opinions.
Mhm.
And it doesn't
Yep.
matter if
Yep.
you are raised in the same household, same mother and father. You know, I deal with this with siblings all the
Yeah.
time. It's like, okay, I see it differently. And even when what I love about my relationship with my siblings is we may be really who we are, whatever, we understand certain things, but we're not going to sit there and like make it seem as though where you're coming from is less than because it's different than where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
And so even though we've done that, right? Whereas we've been at the table like, man, no, wait a minute, but let me tell you,
Yeah.
don't bring up sports, see, because then it's a whole thing. You know what I mean? You're talking about who's the greatest. And
Who's
then
the
it
greatest
becomes,
basketball
yeah.
player? Yeah, yeah.
Then you start bringing in statistics. It becomes a real debate. But I
Yeah.
think that, you know, being open to what somebody else is sharing also allows you to learn, which is,
Yeah.
again, goes back to that
Mhm.
growth mindset piece.
Exactly.
This is awesome. What's up with 6.2?
So 6.2 is be flexible and adaptable in your thinking. So with this one, it's important because, again, that rigidity, if we get rigid in our thinking and the way we think, then we're unable to pivot when it's necessary to pivot and the opportunities present itself.
This is what every time, see, they build upon each other. You know,
Yes.
we were just talking about growth mindset. Then we're talking about being open to new information. In order to do that, though, you have to be fluid and flexible in your thinking. You really do. Adaptable in certain situations.
Always.
I've really been able to apply this on different jobs, right? Like at one of my first jobs out of college was, you know, they gave me a job description. They told me to do a real specific job, and everybody in that department was doing that specific job. But I could see that there was like you know, a cog in the wheel, you know what I mean, where it was like it was stopping our productivity. And so rather than me just doing what was there, I was able to adapt a bit right there and literally created a whole new department because they realized, wow, we didn't understand that this was happening in this kind of production line. But sometimes you have to be able to do that. And this takes me back to one of the things that I live by, see, is what my mama taught me. My mom always says, be fluid and flexible. And she says that, and it doesn't matter how I get to apply it. A lot of times it's within myself, and I get to share that with my children and with other people around me. I'm like, hey, when I hear them it's almost being in that rigid space, I'm like, man, just be fluid and flexible, which really, you know, lends itself to adaptability.
Well, I have a mentor, and he gave me this thing. You have to have a little bend in you, because if you don't, you'll break. Right. So when you're talking about being fluid and flexible, we have to, for our own mindset set and for our own self-care, because when we're flexible, we don't feel like we have to force things, and we're able to relax, and that stress level stays down. But when we start forcing things and trying to make things happen too hard, you know, especially when the opening is not there, then we start to get stress, anxiety, become overwhelmed, and it starts to affect our health, our moods, our attitudes, things like that.
Yeah, this is so true. And, you know, one of the things that I think I was able to experience in terms of like mentors and people around me, family, my elders, is that I see both sides. Honestly, I see both sides of this scene, right? Where it's like, I can see the end result when you're not that way.
Yes.
And unfortunately, we have some folks that, you know, they're like, oh, look, I've been this way my whole life. You know, certain elders, I've been this way my whole life. Ain't no changing. You can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Exactly.
All this, right?
Exactly.
But it's like, no. And I'm always like, but no, that's not true. Honestly, it's a choice once again to say, I'm going to be adaptable in this situation. I'm going to learn from my grandbaby. You know, let me, instead of me feeling like I have lived all this life, and so I'm just going to be a certain way, let me actually hear what they got to say. And it's interesting because I've experienced this through the wave of technology. You see a lot of younger folks teaching some of the older folks how to use some of these apps and cell phones and different technology, because it wasn't something that they grew up with. So even though you have all of this lived experience, this right here is a new addition to society. It's a new addition to life. And it's one of the ways to apply that very principle right there, see?
Yeah. Well, when you say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, we know that as the old saying, right? right? So when you look at those people and you look at their lives, a lot of them are complaining, right? And a lot of them are not happy or satisfied with the results that they're getting or the outcomes of their lives, the things that are going on. But they don't understand that that's what it's tied to, not learning those new things, not being flexible. It's like a person going in the wrong direction. Once you find out you're going in the wrong direction, you don't keep going. You go back, start over, figure it out. But you don't keep going in the same direction.
Right.
You got to make a change. And that's where the flexibility, what we heard with COVID, pivot, things like that.
Yeah, you mentioned COVID, and that was one of the things that came to the top of mind for me, is that we also talk about this in terms of systems, systems not being able to adapt and be flexible in their approaches. But we did see a huge change in that when COVID hit for all of us. I mean, it was like, okay, we didn't have all of these things put in place, but now we have to be thinking about ways to keep our society safe. And there was a major pivot in adaptability that had to occur in order for us to really be responsive to COVID. And so, I mean, when you talk about these real lifer tips, I love this because they expand the spectrum. See, it's, it's not just about individuals, taking on these tips. I mean, this is like great for systems and institutions and entities and organizations to understand these tips as well, because they're going to apply at all levels.
Yeah. Well, that's the approach with the real lifer and the coaching that I do. We work with individuals and organizations, but we know that organizations are made up of individuals. So if we can change the individual, we know by default the organization will change.
Yeah. If everybody's kind of moving with this in their minds and really creating kind of like a systems of approach, that this is how we move, right?
Yes.
That right there is key, particularly what I experience in a lot of our community-based organizations. We have great ideas, great work that we're doing, but we need this kind of foundation in terms of the set of principles that really guide and govern how we move. So I really appreciate this. What's up with 6.3?
So 6.3 is when you know better, do better. It's kind of like we were talking about going the wrong way, right? So a lot of us get stuck in this where, and even I was thinking about this morning, we get stuck in the past and things that we did in the past. But if we take this and adopt this mindset of when we know better, we do better, we don't have to beat ourselves up over mistakes that we made. And we're able to move forward knowing that we're getting better, we're improving. And what I didn't know. But now that I do, I'm going to use and apply that.
Hey, I say this all the time, specifically about the way that I eat, right? I can't, my body feels different. If I go to the junk and if I'm doing fast food or whatever, I know it because I feel it in my body. If I'm really putting things in my body that are beneficial, I can feel that as well. And that has been really new learning for me. Like, of course, there was always this idea of like, let me balance my greens with my meats and with my, with my starches. Let me have a well-balanced diet. But then as I started to learn more about certain processing and things like that, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I'm putting all of these different kind of preservatives in my body and it's affecting me in ways that are not beneficial to me at all. So this is something that I apply and I say it all the time. So my family is always like, what? You ain't gonna eat this. And I'm like, no, I can't do it. I'm like, when you know better, you got to do better, guys. But it's also about application, right? Because learning is not just for learning's sake. Like my friend said to me, learning is knowledge and wisdom is knowing when to apply it, right? She just said that to me, right? And so I'm like, oh, no, that's absolutely right. A lot of this is about application.
Yes, absolutely. But it's hard to apply it if you don't know it. And then it's hard to remember it if you haven't internalized it. So it's important that we practice it every day. That's why these come along with a checklist. So you can check off every day, have you done these things? And then you can kind of see where the holes are on the page for the week. That, okay, this is the area I need to focus more attention into. Some of these things are natural, where some of these things you have to be more intentional.
Yeah. Well, also too, when we talk about all of the different ways that these things can be applied, I think over time, I'm sure through these checklists and you're doing them daily, you actually get to see areas of your life where it's like, wait a minute, okay, I'm not applying this so much here. I'm still staying true to like, I don't like that dude and I don't care. Right. And so in that regard, I'm not applying these things in that area, but you can probably see over time where the application is sticking. Because again, we're talking about these being tips for not just individuals, but institutions and everything.
Yeah.
So maybe they're like, oh yeah, no, I've been using real life for tips on my job. But then when I get home, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My spouse, I'm like, wait a minute, man. You know what I mean? I'm staying firm in how I am, and I'm not being adaptable. I'm not being flexible. Is that also one of the kind of byproducts of really utilizing these tips over time?
Oh, absolutely. Because remember, one of the biggest things we want to focus on is our belief system, and always being able to analyze and assess that belief system and seeing if it's serving us. Because what no longer serves us, we have to let go. But we're unwilling to do that because, we talked about when you're going in that wrong direction, sometimes it just feels more comfortable. I know, but without thinking. So it's important that we analyze that belief system and understand how those beliefs are affecting our change in other areas and not just one. This is not the end all be all by any means, the Realifer 12 points, right? But it's a foundation, it's a start, and then you build off of that with other knowledge.
Yeah, it's a solid foundation too, honestly, because it is a constant check on yourself to be sure that, again, like that just came to me because I'm like, wait a minute, we've been talking about all these real lifer tips. We're at the midway point now.
Yep.
But honestly, if I'm only taking this in and saying, well, this is beneficial for me on my job, but you know how I deal with my family is just how I deal with my family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're also not giving yourself the full opportunity to apply all of this and really change all of the areas of your life, because they do apply in that regard. I mean, man, see, once again, dropping the knowledge right here. We appreciate you so much. Look right there. Make sure folks know how to find you if they need these checklists in their life. I'm gonna tell you, we all do.
Yes,
make sure they know how to get with you.
Agree. So if you want access to the checklist, you can reach out to me at curtiscalhoun.com or Curtis R. Calhoun on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. I got me a TikTok now too.
There it is.
So, and YouTube. So you can find me there and you can reach out that way.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much again. Our resident life coach in the building. These tips have been phenomenal. I just appreciate you bringing this to this platform right here so we can share it with everyone. Thanks so much, Curtis.
Thank you. Peace, Trae. Appreciate
Absolutely. It. Oh, my goodness. You guys, we're going to wrap up right after this short break. Just stay tuned, you guys. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Hey y'all, my name is Nicole Harvey and I proudly serve as the Director of Community and Family Engagement at Seattle Jazz Ed, and I'm here to let y'all know that we're getting to launch our fall programming the first week of October. So if you're a student or you know a student between the grades 4 through 12 that is interested in playing music, whether they're a beginner or they've been playing for a long time, we have saved a seat for you. For more information, please visit our website at www.seattlejazzed.org. All of our programs and classes are offered on a sliding scale tuition policy, which means that families get to choose what they pay, no questions asked. We also have free loaner instruments available for every student to use. If you have questions, you're welcome to contact us via email or by phone at programs@seattlejazzed.org or 206-324-5299.
Welcome back, everybody, to The Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday, and what a great episode we had today. Of course, that commercial right there, man, make sure y'all are tuning in to Clapback Culture tonight at 7 p.m. with my girl, Julia Jesse, and it looks like, Omari's been on the scene. Make sure you guys check that out, but I got to give Curtis a huge, huge shout out because these tips, a lot of folks may say, oh, yeah, I know this, I know that, I know this, but what I love is every other Thursday, Curtis is on this set to bring us this so that we can drill it home. And sometimes that's what we need. We've talked about the need for an accountability partner to keep us on track, but get these checklists, you guys. Get with Curtis R. Calhoun. Make sure you guys go visit the website, check him out on social media, check out what he's doing right now on the new platform he's on, TikTok. But just check him out. And honestly, learn to apply these things in your daily lives because they will be helpful to you. Of course, for me, I want y'all to be inspired by Curtis being on here every other week. I mean, clearly he is doing something to see himself as a part of the solution. And I can't even believe that this is not the only thing he does, y'all. He's out here in community wearing multiple hats. We just appreciate all the work that he's doing. But this right here is something that is so beneficial to all of us if we just learn to apply it. So of course, be inspired as I am every time Curtis is right here in the studio with me. This is something where I walk away and I say, okay, based on the tip today, how am I applying that? How have I applied that? So we got to be able to do that real analysis of ourselves, of our activity, of our reactions, to realize how we can have that growth mindset and learn how to grow and not be stagnant in this world. That's also a way that you get to see yourself as a part of the solution. If you stay stagnant, you never will be able to really be a part of the solution because they're ever evolving. So we've got to change with the times, you guys. We've got to be adaptable in order to really be effective in the energy that we're putting out there. So be inspired. See yourself as a part of the solution. And y'all know, for me, until tomorrow at 11 a.m., peace. Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.